You are being controlled right now. Not by words, not by threats, not by anything you can point to and say that is the thing that is being done to me. By something invisible, something that leaves no fingerprints, something so subtle that by the time you feel it, you have already obeyed. And the most terrifying part, the person doing it may not even know they are doing it. It is wired into human nature. It is older than language. It is the original weapon and almost no one is defending against it. You think manipulation looks like a lie. You think it sounds like a threat. You think you would know if someone was working you. You would feel it. You would see it coming. You wouldn't. You don't. You haven't. The most dangerous manipulation in the world is the kind that never makes a sound. Today, we are going to cut into something most psychology content refuses to touch. We are going to dissect the 6 methods of silent control that are being used on you, in your relationships, your workplace, your family right now. Today, as you sit here watching this, Niccolo Machiavelli understood this better than any man who ever lived. He knew that the crude prince rules with iron, but the dangerous prince rules with atmosphere. He controls what people feel without ever exposing what he wants. And when you understand how this works, not just academically, but in your bones, you become something the manipulator has never encountered before. Immune. Let's begin. Method 1. The withdrawal. There is no weapon more precise than silence from someone whose attention you crave. Think about the last time someone who mattered to you went cold. No fight, no explanation, just less, shorter replies, a flatness in the voice. Eyes that used to find yours that now look somewhere else. Your brain did not register this as neutral, it registered this as a threat, because to the primal mind, withdrawal from someone important means danger. It means you have done something wrong. It means the bond is fracturing, and fractured bonds, for a social animal, historically meant death. So what did you do? You reached. You over-explained. You softened your position. You became more agreeable, more available, more careful. You auditioned for their approval without even realizing the audition had begun. That is the withdrawal. And it is being used on you with surgical precision by people who have learned, consciously or not, that disappearing is more powerful than demanding. Machiavelli wrote that men are moved more by fear of loss than by hope of gain. The person who withdraws is not punishing you. They are activating your fear of loss. They are making you do the work of the argument they never had to start. The defense is brutal in its simplicity. You must become someone who does not chase the withdrawal. When someone goes cold, you must go still. Not cold in return still, calm. Unbothered on the outside, even if your nervous system is screaming. You make no move. You feel no silence. You let the distance exist without rushing to collapse it. When the withdrawer realizes the withdrawal is not working, one of 2 things happens. They either return on honest terms, or they reveal that the coldness was the whole relationship. Either way, you have your answer. Method 2. The sigh. This one is so small most people dismiss it. That is why it works. A sigh at the right moment contains an entire accusation. It says I am disappointed in you without giving you anything to respond to. It says you have failed me without ever making the charge. You cannot defend against a sigh. You cannot argue with an exhale. But your nervous system reads it perfectly, and it starts generating anxiety. What did I do? Is something wrong? Should I ask? If I ask, am I being paranoid? This is ambient emotional pressure. It is the slow drip of nonverbal disapproval designed to make you self-correct your behavior without the manipulator ever having to voice a single demand. The same mechanism operates through the dismissive laugh, the raised eyebrow held a half-second too long, the pause before answering that communicates I am deciding whether you deserve my response. These micro-expressions are not accidents. In skilled manipulators, they are deployed with the precision of language. Carl Jung called the shadow the part of us that operates below conscious awareness. Many people manipulate from the shadow. They do not sit and plan these signals. But the effect is identical to deliberate strategy. Intent is irrelevant. The impact lands the same. You must train yourself to name what you are feeling in these moments, rather than immediately moving to fix it. The anxiety is the signal. I am feeling managed right now. When you name it, you interrupt the automatic compliance loop. You step out of the passenger seat. Method 3. The public performance. The manipulator never confronts you privately. They perform for an audience. A comment at dinner that lands like a joke but carries a blade. A story told to the group that uses you as the punchline while maintaining plausible deniability. I'm only teasing. You're so sensitive. A question asked in front of others that they know will put you on the defensive. The audience is the weapon, because now you cannot respond honestly without looking reactive. You cannot call it out without looking thin-skinned. You are trapped between your dignity and the social contract. Machiavelli understood this dynamic completely. The prince who humiliates publicly forces a choice. The target either submits in front of witnesses or destroys the relationship by fighting back. The manipulator wins either way. The only exit from this trap is to refuse the premise of the performance. You do not react. You do not laugh along to manage the discomfort. You hold a quiet, level stillness that communicates, "I see exactly what is happening here," without saying a word. You meet the performance with a silence that is more powerful than any rebuttal. Later, in private, you address it once, calmly, directly, without drama, and you make clear, without threatening, without begging, that the performance does not happen again. If it does, you have your information, and you adjust accordingly. Method 4. Triangulation. This is the move of the truly dangerous manipulator. They introduce a third party, a name dropped casually into conversation. Marcus mentioned he thought you were wrong about that. An ex referenced at precisely the right moment. A colleague praised in a way that functions as a mirror held up to your inadequacy. The third party is not really part of the conversation. They are a tool. They are being used to create competition, insecurity, and doubt without the manipulator having to voice any of it directly. Schopenhauer observed that the most effective way to control a man is not to attack him, it is to make him attack himself. Triangulation does exactly this. It introduces a rival, real or implied, and then steps back to watch your ego do the destabilizing work. You begin competing with a ghost. You begin measuring yourself against a name. You become anxious, more eager to prove your worth, more susceptible to the manipulator's validation when they occasionally offer it. The defense is to name the triangle out loud, not with anger, with curiosity. "It seems like you keep bringing up this person when we disagree. What is that about?" You collapse the triangle by refusing to compete with the ghost. You force the conversation back to two people. The manipulator suddenly has nowhere to redirect. Method 5. Strategic incompetence. This one lives in your home, in your office, in your closest relationships. It is the person who performs helplessness so completely and so consistently that you simply take over. They cannot figure out the finances. They cannot handle the difficult conversation. They cannot manage the logistics. Not because they lack the ability, but because they learned. Somewhere along the way, that incompetence is freedom. If you never do something well enough, you are never asked to do it again. And the competent person nearby you absorbs the weight without anyone ever asking you to carry it. No demand was made. No manipulation was declared. You simply picked it up because the alternative felt unkind. This is how strategic incompetence operates as control. It reshapes your entire life around someone else's performed limitations. Your time, your energy, your resources, all organized around plugging a gap that was manufactured to need you. The exit is to stop plugging, not cruelly, but firmly. You return the task. You hold the boundary that says, "I believe you are capable of this," and you do not move when they push back with helplessness. Competence, once no longer rewarded with escape, has a tendency to reappear. Method 6. The slow rewrite. This is the most dangerous of all 6, because by the time you notice it, you are already someone else. It happens incrementally. A small correction to your memory. That's not how it happened. A gentle repositioning of your perspective. You're always so paranoid. A quiet redefinition of who you are and what you are allowed to feel. You're too sensitive for this kind of conversation. Over months, over years, the accumulation of these micro-corrections rewrites your internal reality. You stop trusting your perception. You defer to theirs. You begin to need their version of events to know what actually occurred. This is the mechanism at the heart of what psychologists call gaslighting. But Machiavelli saw its architecture 500 years ago. He knew that the ruler who controls the narrative controls the subject completely, without ever raising a hand. The defense requires a record, not obsessive documentation, but a habit of anchoring your own perception in real time. This is what I observed. This is what I felt. This is what was said. When someone attempts to revise your experience, you do not argue. You do not perform certainty. You simply hold your ground quietly, internally. "I know what I saw." Here is the cold truth that all 6 of these methods share. None of them require words. All of them require your cooperation. They only function because you are trying to be reasonable, to be fair, to give the benefit of the doubt. That generosity is the entry point. Your empathy is the door they walk through. This is not an argument for becoming cold. It is an argument for becoming clear. There is a difference between warmth and blindness, between loyalty and compliance, between connection and control. Machiavelli's most useful lesson was not how to manipulate, it was how to see. Once you see the mechanism loses its power. You cannot be moved by a hand you can watch. Stop being easy to operate. Start being difficult to read. Not hostile, opaque, not reactive still. The most protected mind is not the one that builds walls. It is the one that no longer needs them, because it has learned to see what is happening long before it arrives. That is not coldness, that is clarity. And clarity, in a world built on silent manipulation, is the only real power you will ever have.